I just finished reading an unusual book for me. It's called, the Swedish title is Nils underbara resa genom Sverige. The English title would be something akin to Nils' wonderful journey through or across Sweden. It's, as I said, it's not what I usually read. And to be honest, the only reason I did actually read the book was because I'm currently taking a course at university. And what I had to do was read this book for that course. So I likely would never have touched this book otherwise. But now I'm glad I did. I'm glad I was forced to do so. It's written by Selma Lagerlöv. Is she called Lagerlöv? Yeah, Lagerlöv. Selma Lagerlöv is actually quite a famous Swedish author. She was also a teacher, I found out now when I googled a little bit about her. And this book was beautiful. It was actually commissioned to her to write this book to use like in the schools, and she had to describe like Sweden's landskap. Hur säger man det? Geography. They wanted Selma to write a book about Sweden's geography, and the result was Nils' wonderful journey through Sweden. The story. The story is about Nils Holgersson. He is a 14. He's a 14. I'm on the wrong thingy. There we go. So the story is about a 14-year-old boy called Nils Holgersson. And Nils, he's a very bad child. He doesn't listen to his parents. He plays pranks on them, and he's just generally cruel towards the animals, the farm animals that they have. This is also set in the time where the majority of people were still farmers and had their own farms and cattle and so on and so forth. So he's a very naughty boy. And one day, his parents decide to go to church. Nils doesn't want to go with them. He stays at home, and he's made to remember to study a Bible passage with the instructions that when his parents get back home, they are going to quiz him on said Bible chapter. So he sits there obediently for once, is reading the Bible, and then he spots a tomte somewhere in the house. So tomte, there's no actual accurate, correct translation for it into English at least, but it's a small human-looking creature. Like it looks exactly like a human, but just small. So imagine from my mountain of a knuckle. Damn, it's really sticking out. Oh well. From my mountain of a knuckle up to the very top of my finger. Like that's roughly the size of a tomte. And they're just small little beings that wander around. Essentially, that's all you need to know for the story. So he sees this tomte and he decides to capture it. And in a bid to get free, to be released from captivity, the tomte promises Nils like a golden coin, a silver spoon, and something else. I don't recall. And Nils, in the beginning, he agrees, but then he changes his mind because he instead wants the tomte to make him just magically remember the Bible verse he's supposed to study. So Nils changes his mind and tries to go to recapture the tomte, like just shove him back into the net that he had captured him in. And he gets hit by a something and wakes up as a tomte himself. So the original tomte, so to say, transformed Nils into a tomte. Nils wakes up confused, realizes what has happened to him, and he goes around to the barn and he starts speaking to all the animals. And they all laugh at him. They say like, "Oh, you used to torture us. You were a big bad human, and now look at you." And they're kind of like looking down on him. And as he's there being made fun of and wallowing in what the fuck do I do now? A pack of geese are flying in the sky, and they're calling out and saying, "Oh, we're going to Lapland." It's actually in Finland, I found out, but it's the place above the northernmost part of Sweden, so even northern than that. It's Finland. And one goose from Nils's farm, he's actually so enthralled by their calls that he decides to join them. He says like, "I want to go with you," and he starts flying. Nils, in an attempt to stop the goose from flying away, catches him around the throat, but he's really, really small, so the goose ends up lifting into the sky with the boy, with Nils. And so starts Nils' wonderful adventure through Sweden. They joined a pack of wild geese, and their journey is from one of the southest parts of Sweden, in Skåne, the southest region in Sweden, and they travel all the way over the border into Lapland, which is in Finland. And so the book is about this journey. And along the journey, Nils actually grows as a person. He has some moments of self-reflection where he grows as a character, but that's not really the main focus of this book. The main focus of this book really is to explore Sweden, but there was such beautiful things that happened along the way that I just really fell for. I didn't really care for there's plenty of descriptions of floods going rivers. I mean, not floods, of rivers of what are they called? I know this word, but not right now. What is Åar in English? I have forgotten. Brook, creek? That sounds wrong. That's not the word I usually know. Okay, whatever. There's lots of descriptions like mountains, of rivers, and so of forests and so on and so forth. But that's not what really caught me with this book. There are beautiful, so to say, side stories happening all along this journey that they're taking. And a red thread throughout this book was the beauty of the animals. The beauty of the animals. So Nils meets a variety of animals. They meet foxes, they meet all sorts of different kinds of birds, they meet squirrels, they meet eagles, they meet moose, all kinds of animals. And dogs, cats, all sorts of things. And throughout what all these animals shared in common was kind of this peace with death, I want to say. So there were some situations where a pack of animals, I think it was a pack of sheep, they were on some island, and they were getting killed off one by one by foxes. And when Nils and his pack of wild geese reached them, like the sheep say, we wouldn't really be mad at the foxes if they were just killing us to eat, because they also have to eat. But they're killing us out of pure enjoyment, simply because they want to hunt. And it was just a bit not hard, but touching. It was touching in a way to see that. I'm sure many of you can relate to this, and I'm sure many people have a fear of death, even if it's just very, very small. But death is something typically in today's society, I feel that is feared and you don't want to talk about it. It's unimaginable. And throughout this book, all these animals, they were all just so ready and willing and understanding of death. There was another animal, I think it was a moose. I think he sensed that he had simply come to the end of his life, and he used the last bit of it to lure hunters away from his pack of other moose. So he led the hunters away, and then he just came to a clearing, stood there, and just waited for the hunters to catch up to him and then to murder him. And he told a fellow animal to tell his long lost friend that he had a good life. And then the chapter ends. And this is a common trend throughout the entire book, and I found that just to be so beautiful. These animals, they lived, they ate, they had met partners, had children, some of them, and when it was time to go, they didn't resist. They simply took it. They simply accepted it. And I found beauty in that. I found that beautiful, because imagine having such a life, not the simplicity of it, but just living, and when it's for your time to come, you simply go. There's no, I still have regrets, I have so much left to do, or, it's just, okay, I'm going then. And it was beautiful. It touched me, honestly. And I think the way that Selma wrote about these scenes, the tone she set for the different animals' death was also quite beautiful. It was beautifully written. That's kudos to you, Selma. Let's see my notes real quick. Additionally, so this book was written in 1906. It's not a modern book whatsoever. Ooh. Ooh. There be light. So, despite the book being written in written and published in 1906, there is fantasy. I mean, in some passages, some scenes that she writes, it's just full of fantasy. and it's beautiful. I remember she had like about one place. What was it? Värmland or something like that. I don't recall the place exactly. But she created a whole like this fantasy story in regards to how this island was made. And she said like half of the island was just like basically mountains where humans could not live, and the other half was like nice flat earth where people could plant and harvest food and live off of, and so on and so forth. And it was just very, very imaginative and engaging. Despite this being a book that I like had to read for school purposes, I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed those parts. Like it was very fantasy filled. So if you're interested in a bit in older Swedish literature, but not extremely old, I would definitely recommend reading this book. She's one of the very famous authors in the Swedish author history. But also the book is genuinely good. Now, there are plenty of passages that just describe like the landscape and such, and if you're into that, all good for you. If you're not, you can just skip those parts because it doesn't really affect the overall story. But also, the overall story isn't only that Nils is going on this adventure throughout Sweden and exploring. There is like the groundwork is him being transformed into a tomte, and then he finds out a bit further into the book. He initially doesn't want to get turned back into a human because he wants to be free and just live with the wild geese and travel around, and he loves it. But then at some point he realizes he wants to turn back to being a human. And he finds out that in order to do that, what he needs to do is like he needs to get turned back by the tomte who turned him into a tomte. And the tomte has said that he will turn Nils back if the goose that went along with Nils to the wild geese pack, if he makes it the journey all the way to Lapland and then takes the goose back to the original farm where he was from, Nils' dad's farm. That's the basis of the story. But then there are several other stories that also are explored throughout the book. And yeah, it's really lovely. I don't really have a critique for this book because I understand from what perspective it was written from. All I'll say is there were some parts about the landscape description that could have been like skipped from someone who is not really interested in Swedish landscape to a very detailed degree. Some parts could be skipped. But overall, it's a good book. Like I really love her writing, and considering especially how that time's books must have been, this is an exquisite piece of fantasy. I'm with 100% confidence, I'm going to say that Selma Lagerlöv was ahead of her time. I think she would have created even greater books if she had like been born a little later and has also been alive a little longer in today's space. Yeah, that's it for this book review. Very short, I hope. Yeah. Let me know in the comments if you've ever read anything from the Swedish Room. I'd actually be interested in hearing that. Also, if you read the book, let me know what you think. See you!